piece is Give Me Jesus, an African-American spiritual. It's one of my favorite pieces to play. Hi, this is Kate Bennett, Director of Music at the Presbyterian Church of Chestertown, Maryland. I have a deep fondness for spirituals. I love all kinds of music. I listen to music all the time. But I really enjoy spirituals. There's something deeply emotional and moving about them that as a musician, I can really get into. Spirituals. Without spirituals, we wouldn't have blues, jazz, rhythm and blues, gospel, eventually rock and roll. And it's unfortunate that the reason we have them is because slaves were brought to this country. It's horrifying to imagine, but yes, slaves were torn away from their countries, their language, not allowed to use it, their culture, torn away from their families and brought here to America to be sold, human beings, to be sold as slaves. But their music couldn't be taken away. And over the years, slaves adopted Christianity, the faith of their masters, but they kept the rhythms, the African rhythms in their songs. Work songs helped with work, back and forth, working. Field hollers, call and response. Someone would sing, another would answer. And these rhythms were found in the spirituals. Spirituals also were used to communicate. They were coded. Follow the drinking gourd. The drinking gourd was the Big Dipper, and that pointed to the North Star and the way to escape. Songs about water, deep river, wade in the water, referred to the River Jordan because slaves learned their Bible stories, and they related to the Israelites being saved from slavery in Egypt and taken to the Promised Land. They were taken by Moses, and the slave's Moses was Harriet Tubman. So the river they were referring to was the Ohio, and that was the river, if you got over that one, you could escape. In the Underground Railroad. The Underground Railroad was helped greatly by Harriet Tubman, Eastern Shore, Maryland woman. Well, she lived in the Eastern Shore of Maryland, and she helped so many slaves escape. And the song, Go Down Moses, when Israel was in Egypt's land, Let My People Go, referred to her. She was Moses. She was the one that was going to take them. There were also quilts that were sewn that had coded messages. So the music and these quilts were ways for the slaves to communicate. They were not allowed. It was prohibited by law for them to learn to read and write. So unfortunately, these songs were not written down, but they were passed on orally. But the songs are full of suffering and longing and religious passion. Yes, the Emancipation Proclamation was in 1863, and the 13th Amendment abolishing slavery was finally passed in 1865. Now, spirituals, like I said, they were passed on orally. They weren't written down. I figure there were probably at least 6,000 of them, but we don't have all of those today. There was a university in Nashville called Fisk University, and they needed money, and the choral director there took his singers on a tour to raise money, and he had them singing European songs, songs that derive from Europe and Western culture. Wasn't such a big hit. But one time when The singers were just relaxing and sitting back before a concert. They started singing some of their own songs that they had learned from their parents. I think Steal Away was one of the first ones. And it was so beautiful and so moving. The choral director realized this was the way to go. So the Fisk Jubilee Singers started touring the country. This is the late 1800s. And were amazingly popular. They toured Europe and popularized spirituals. There was also a composer named Henry Burleigh, who in 1892 met Dvorak when he was in America. Dvorak, he was studying composition and voice, and Dvorak said, you should use your own American music. And Burleigh is the one who wrote Deep River, which is also one of my favorite spirituals. Absolutely gorgeous song. Spirituals were also used in the civil rights movement and the folk movement of the 1950s and 60s. The Staple Singers were one of the groups that popularized them. Well, I looked in our hymnal, in the topical index. There weren't any spirituals or African American spirituals. But then I looked in the composer index, and there were African American spirituals, and there were 27 of them. Now, some of my favorites, Give Me Jesus, Deep River, and Wade in the Water, are not in our hymnal. But some of the songs that we know really well are. Let's see. Go Down Moses is in there, When Israel Was in Egypt's Land. Every Time I Feel the Spirit. Go Tell It on the Mountain. Wonderful song we sing at Christmas. Were You There When They Crucified My Lord? African American spiritual. The one we've been using for benediction during our study of the acting church the last 4 weeks, Lord, Make Us More Holy Until We Meet Again, is in our hymnal. In fact, I thought I would read you what it says about that. Lord, Make Us More Holy is number 313. Says, like many African American spirituals, this one creates a framework for almost endless expansion beyond the 4 stanzas given here. Lord, make us more patient. Lord, make us more faithful. Lord, make us more loving. This sung prayer is notable as an affirmation of God's active care for the once gathered community while dispersed, and hope to be reunited. Yes, that's what we hope. And it will happen. Meanwhile, let's see, other ones that you might know. My Lord, What a Morning. Kumbaya. That's in our hymnal. Let Us Break Bread Together. I've Got Peace Like a River. Guide My Feet. I Want Jesus to Walk with Me. Those are all familiar songs that are spirituals. And our country, the music would not have developed in the same way had we not had this rich background of wonderful, emotional, beautiful music behind us. Peace be with you.